Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. Tony Gale to grab his thoughts on the Man City game, the season so far, and get his crystal ball out and see what he thinks may happen for the remainder of the season. But Tony, first of all, how's things?
I'm very good, Joe. You everything all right with you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Right, let's go back to Saturday, London Stadium. You were there, you were commentating on it. What did you make of it from West Ham's perspective?
Well, for the neutral perspective, as I had to be for that game because I was commentating for Sky, I thought it was a great game. I anticipated the way the game was going to go with so much possession for Man City. I thought they would beat us. I was trying to look for a little bit of a crystal ball and say how were we going to get on. And I thought if we got a point, it would have been great. But the thing that was brilliant for me was our performance. Actually, we know we can defend deep. We know we can defend in our shape. But the way we're breaking at the moment at really good speed is a thing that's going to stand us in good stead. I hope we can get a little bit more of the ball against Liverpool and give them a few problems because the players we've got in the team at the moment, we're looking like we can. And, you know, with Kudus coming on in the second half and showing us glimpses of what we might see in the future. Lucas Paquetá having a terrific game, I thought, with very little possession. Thought maybe he might have been showing off for Man City, actually, a little bit there, trying to say, if you want to come and get me next season, maybe I'm still going to be a little bit better player than what I already am. But there were some really good signs for us, I thought, and I've been impressed with our start.
A good bit of an error from a good for their second goal, or do you think it was just a little bit unfortunate on his part?
No, I thought it was an error. I did mention in commentary that he maybe thought he was anticipating a challenge coming in from someone, normally Haaland in the area there, but he mistimed his leap completely. But the ball was a little flip over the top from Alvarez, and it was like a little lob. And I thought that maybe the keeper, Areola, could have come as well, particularly when it bounced. The keepers I've played in the past would have wiped Bernardo Silva out, actually, in trying to get to that one. I thought he was far too nice in the way he came. But I suppose 70% of it you'd have to put down to Aguerd, who played really well in the game, but one lapse of concentration against City and you make the pay. So there was two guys there I thought could have prevented that goal from going in.
Is it just a case of it was Man City, we just ignore it, and like you said, there's plenty positives to take. So do in your opinion, do we just write this one off and go again on Thursday night?
Well, we have to because it's gone. Yeah, as simple as that. It's gone. You know, we've got to write the others off in which we won games and say that was good. But I think when you're a manager like Moyes, you're playing the top side, you're looking for performance as well. And you're looking for something that you're going to get out your new players. And they're coming on well. Obviously, we all knew about Ward-Prowse and what he could do. But the other boys that are coming in, Alvarez and Kudus, they look like they're players to me. If you've been doing football as long as I have, then you can see certain things in their games that you think, well, that's going to stand us in good stead. And, you know, hopefully going forward, we're going to get a little bit more possession against teams other than Man City and Liverpool. And those boys, when they get on the ball, as well as Paquetá, and the other boys as well, I think, you know, we're going to look like we're a half decent team.
What is it then that stood out from with Alvarez in particular that's impressed you so far?
Well, his competitiveness, I think that helps him coming into the Premier League. I want to see a little bit more composure when he gets on the ball because that's where it all starts from. That's Declan's position, which he played and until he had to come off. Hopefully it was just cramp and it wasn't a muscle strain. But the competitiveness, which is vital in that area. You've got to have people who can disrupt play, get after the ball, sit in front of that back four and make it start from that position. So we haven't seen the best of him yet, but when you're coming into a team like West Ham in the Premier League and you're thrust into games like this, I think he's done really well, really well.
I've been very impressed by him, to be honest with you, Tony. I have to put my hands up a little bit. Say perhaps I was a bit naive in the summer. I was worried about how we were going to cope without Declan Rice, and so far this season, I actually don't feel like we've missed him at all. I think we've maybe lost our best player, but we've got better as a team and as a unit. In the middle of the pitch, actually, arguably looks more balanced now without Declan Rice, but with the inclusion of Alvarez. And James Ward-Prowse, like you said, a player we know, but is he even better than you expected, perhaps?
No, because I've seen a lot of him. We all know what he can do from set plays, but I think he's relished the role of trying to join the striker. Antonio, who's playing a lone role up there at the moment. So when we break, he has to be the one that breaks from midfield, obviously, because the other two, maybe Souček or Alvarez, they're a little bit deeper. Paquetá in 2 games now has started out on the left-hand side when we're playing against teams that we think are going to have the edge possession-wise. When we think we're up against opposition like Sheffield United's coming up and other teams, I think Moyes may change it, and you may see that he plays in the middle and then Kudus comes in, which will really, I think, hot up the competition for places as well. And Rama on the ring hasn't been having the best of times, I think, but, we all know what he can do, but we know what he must do. And by having someone up his backside really pushing him for a place is going to be good for him.
Is that what you'd like to see happen up against Sheffield United? And after that, I think we've got a couple of tough games with Newcastle and Villa, but then we've got Everton in there as well. Is that what you'd like to see? Paquetá come into the middle and then Kudus come out onto the left-hand side?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Well, let's have a look at him. The only way you're going to judge is by having a look at him. And I think we'll probably get a full view of him on Thursday in the Europa Cup. So, and some of the other lads that haven't played as well. So that's a good chance for them to come in. But we saw it with Moyes last season. He played quite strong teams in the early stages of the competition. So, because he likes to get that team format and that team pattern quite solid and everybody used to what they're doing. Declan very rarely got rested last season, did he? But if there's any slight strains, like Alvarez, maybe his calf or his hamstring, whichever it was playing him up, then he, of course, can have a rest. But Moyes likes playing his teams. But we have got the one problem, is if Antonio gets injured. We saw a sign of Bowen go up front, because maybe if Bowen had the Antonio chance, he probably would have taken that when he went through one-on-one. But that's what Moyes got up his sleeve. But we still got Danny Ings, and we got to see what Danny can do in a lone striking role. I'm not quite so sure if Danny's used to doing the running like Antonio or Bowen would do if they played up front, if Danny could do that share of work. But Danny's got great finishing qualities.
Yeah, it's a good point about Bowen being through and goal. He did it in Prague, didn't he? He got that chance through and goal, and he slotted that one away. My concern, well, that's one of them. What do we do with that, Antonio? My concern, and it's off the back of the Man City game, to be honest with you, Tony, and that is, what do we do if we don't have Alvarez, whether it be for part of the game or a game? Because I felt like we fell apart in the middle of the pitch when he wasn't there, and City Doku was incredible. I thought he was by far the best player on the pitch on Saturday, but when Alvarez went off, I felt that City stopped utilising Doku anymore down that left-hand side because they didn't need to. Their Alvarez was then starting to get involved in the game a lot more, finding more room in the middle of our defence, in front of our defence, sorry. So I came away from that game a little bit concerned as to what we're going to do should Alvarez not be available for whatever reason. And I'm not sure what the answer is, truth be told.
Well, I think it's either Souček plays there or James Ward-Prowse plays there. Simple as that. They could play that holding role. And Kera's come on in a few times he's come on, and he's played that holding role as well. I don't think it's the hardest place in the world to play, quite honestly. Defensively, it's an easy place to play. It's when you're starting off attacks that it's most difficult, because you're the first outlet to the centre-backs when they're rolling the ball into you, and you've got to play on the half-turn. The half-turn means you've got to be ready, accept the ball, and looking for the next pass to keep that continuity of play going. Otherwise, you'll be just passing it between centre-backs and Alvarez going backwards and forwards and sideways. Even Declan is going to improve in his game with Arsenal once he opens himself up a little bit more, because if there's a slight fault with Dec, even with us last season, he's still not quite got that natural thing in midfield where he take the ball on the outside of his foot or the inside of his foot and turn in one instance. You can go back a long way here, Gio, and you're too young, I know, because you give me a little bit of stick about that, like how old I am. But even older than me, listen to this one, Gio. Trevor Brooking. He was one of the greatest players, and Alan Devonshire as well, at letting the ball run across their body. If it had no pace on it, and they were aware that there was no one behind them, they'd let the ball run across them because they had that general awareness. That's what some of the boys have got to do in that midfield area. I think we'll be okay in there, Gio. I think it's a position. I don't think you need to worry about that. I think it was a case of the mistake came from Aguirre rather than Alvarez not being there, you know?
Okay, that's fair. I'll take that. I'll take that. You know more than I do when it comes to football.
I hope so, Gio.
Right, season so far prior to the Man City game, 10 points after 4 games, far better than I ever expected, and it's got me a little bit more optimistic for the remainder of the season. But you impressed by what you've seen by Moyes and the boys?
Yeah, I think we expected to see that type of performance against Chelsea and Brighton because we knew they'd have a lot of the ball. We've seen what Brighton have done to teams since we beat them. So that was a fantastic result. And the Bowen goal was something special. And the Antonio goal, actually, where he twisted central defender, got his shot away. But Bowen's goal, touched with the outside of the foot in one touch and then just prodding it home with the outside of his foot with his second touch was exceptional from the ball from Benrahma. When you think about the Chelsea game, yeah, they had a lot of the ball, but they didn't really threaten us, Chelsea. Didn't threaten us, didn't look like they were going to score. But the key for me is how do we progress from here when we're playing against sides of equal possession? We get more possession and we've got to force the pace against them. We did it against Luton. I think we deserve to win the game against Luton, but we got to do that in and up but against the other sides in and around us that you were mentioning were coming up afterwards. I don't think Newcastle are going to have that great a season. On paper, we've got as good a team as Newcastle, I think, on paper. So we should be playing a little bit more freer football when we play the likes of Newcastle and go toe-to-toe with them. That's what I want to see us do. Go toe-to-toe with teams, unless it's, of course, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, maybe Arsenal are going to have a lot of possession. But I think we're good enough to go toe-to-toe.
Do you think we will?
Whether we will or not is another question, because sometimes you get kind of stuck in your ways and they're used to playing it. We saw it against Bournemouth at the start of the season. We played really well. We opened the scoring. First half, we looked really well. Second half, 15 minutes, we looked good. Then all of a sudden, we sat back in our shell again. And I thought, no, come on, boys, kill the game off. Go for the second goal. And unfortunately, they equalised, which they deserved to do in the end. And we came away with a draw, which weren't a bad draw in the end, because Chelsea could only draw there at the weekend, as you saw. But I thought we should have won the game. But it's one of those ones where you've got to have a belief. You've got to get your defensive structure right and what's in front of them. But then how do you go on from there? How do you go? How do we get Paquetá more on the ball? How do we get Bowen, Kudus on the ball? How do we get these players on the ball more to see and get more out of them and stay in that opponent's last third for a good 15 minutes like teams do against us?
Is there a sort of magic way of doing that? Is there a magic wand, Tony, or is it more just about attitude? Because like you said, we've got the personnel. It's just then about allowing them to play.
I think it's the attitude. I think Moyes will be trying to. He tried to get us play more expansive last season. It cost us a few results, but I think sometimes we underestimate ourselves what decent players we got. You mentioned the boys that have come in and the players that we've already got, and I think so as well. Look at Emerson; he's playing really well, isn't he? Yeah. That link-up play with Paquetá down on the left-hand side, excellent stuff. Great run in the first half, great run in the second half. Nearly got himself a couple of goals, but that's what we want to see. And even Kofal for the goal. What a good ball. We not normally picking out crosses like that, but they've got it in them. I just think they've got to believe, and we can kick on. I really think we got a decent squad.
Yeah, we'll see about Sheffield. Like you said, I agree with you. I think the Liverpool one, it shouldn't be like this, but I'm willing to sort of put a line through that and say anything's a bit of a bonus, so we can get a point and bite your hand off for it now. And I think that would be a great one. But the Sheffield United one is where I'm sort of looking and saying, right, well, also Moyes would have had plenty of time with the new boys by then, because Mavropanos, for example, he arrived injured, then he's gone away with Greece. So Moyes has probably only had him on the training pitch for two days or something. It's not that long, really, for him to get to grips with these new signings. So the Sheffield one's key for me. I'm looking forward to it, though. What's your hopes for the rest of the season then? Obviously a long, long way to go, but we like a little bit of fun on Hammer's Chat, Tony. So get your crystal ball out. What's your hopes and then your predictions?
Hopes, I think hopes and predictions. We'll have a top half finish. I don't think we'll struggle like we did last season. I think Europa Cup's going to be a lot more difficult than the Conference Cup, particularly when you get to the next stage because the teams are better. But we've already shown by getting to the semi-final the year before last that we can do that. And most importantly, it's what the fans want, isn't it? no one's ever going to forget Prague and the cup run leading up to it. You know, you're relatively a youngster supporting West Ham, so you know, let's hope you don't have to wait another 40 years like the rest of us.
I don't think I've got another 40 years, Tony.
But I know, but that's what we want, a League Cup run, isn't it? An FA Cup run. You know, these competitions are there to be won when the teams are not playing out stronger sides or whatever. No one's going to say, oh, you won the FA Cup or the League Cup in 2023, 24. Oh, teams were playing weaker teams. No, they're going to say you won the League Cup or you won the FA Cup. But any one of those cup competitions, I think we can have a good go. We've got a decent sized squad there now. So have a little bit of luck in running, and that means injuries, suspensions, of course. But injuries are the key, particularly in the forward area. And maybe January, we can dive into the market again. And I'm sure the recruitment team are looking now, maybe to have a little try on maybe getting a forward, which, you know, not too much money, but one of those where you think, well, he may do it, you know, if it's like a £20 million player, and have a little risk at seeing if we can nick one.
Just before you go then, Jesse Lingard also been in training with West Ham for over 3 weeks now. Moyes has spoken very publicly about how we're trying to get him up to fitness, get him in the right condition, but we can obviously still sign him because we've got that extra space in the squad available. Would you like to see him given a contract at West Ham?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the type of contract that was offered to him before. That's for sure. I think, you know, we're looking to do him a favour now, like rather than he thought he was doing us one when he went to Nottingham Forest instead. But I'm sure the fans will forgive him that. I think he made a major ricket in going there. I think he was on top form at West Ham. He should have come to West Ham in the first place. But on a reduced contract now, I think it could be a decent signing because we're talking, if we do have those cup runs, which we hope we do, we're going to need a padded out squad. And I think he could be useful for us in those cup games. And even if there's injuries in the league.
Would the players have forgiven him back in the day? Would Lingard be welcome back to West Ham back in your day, Tony?
Yeah, I suppose so. But we'd have to say to him, look, we're glad you're on a lot less money than what you were, you greedy so-and-so. So now you're back. Come on, get your finger out and play. But look, it's good, isn't it? Frank McAvenny went, didn't he? He came back. We accepted him back with open arms. Great lad. And Jesse seems like a boy that is easy to like within the camp. He's, you know, he's full of life. He's a little bit cocky, isn't he? And when you watch all his videos and everything, but sometimes you need that little bit of something in and around the camp. And if he signs for us, look, we'll all be cheering him on. There's no doubt about that. I will, you know, because when he did play for us, he played really well. Didn't show any signs of that at Forest, but that's why I think he should have stayed at a club where he was showing good signs.
Well, Tony, thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you guys at home, if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on by clicking thumbs up underneath your video. Subscribe to Hammer's Chat. I'll catch you in a bit.